Have you ever wondered why life feels like a constant uphill battle, or why the world seems broken in ways that no amount of human intelligence or effort can truly fix? If you have ever felt that sting of rejection, the weight of hidden grief, or the confusion of a life that feels fundamentally misaligned, you are not failing in your faith. You are experiencing the echoes of a mystery buried deep within the oldest pages of history. Before we dive into the ancient truth that explains why we struggle, please consider subscribing to this channel to join our community of seekers who are looking for real, grounded answers in a world of noise. Today, we are going to look past the surface of the Garden of Eden to uncover the hidden reality of what really happened at the dawn of existence. We are not here to chase wild theories or sensational myths, but to look at the text with clarity and respect, understanding why the fall of humanity was not just a historical event, but a seismic shift that permanently altered the conditions of our souls. When we read the account in Genesis, we often focus on the fruit itself, as if the physical act of eating were the entire problem. But the story of Eden is much deeper than a simple forbidden snack. Imagine a perfectly tuned instrument, an orchestra playing a symphony where every note resonates with the conductor's vision. That was humanity in the beginning. We were created for connection, for a seamless, unbroken walk with our Creator. The prohibition of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was not a cruel trap set by a vengeful judge, but a boundary set by a loving Father. It was a test of trust. To know good and evil in the way the serpent suggested was not about gaining wisdom. It was about usurping the role of the judge. It was the moment humanity looked at the architect of life and decided that they could design the blueprints better themselves. This is the root of all suffering. When we try to define morality, purpose, and value apart from the Creator, we move away from the only source of stability in the universe. Think about a compass. If the needle is calibrated to magnetic north, you can walk through the thickest forest and never lose your way. But if you decide that the needle is wrong or that you know a better direction, you are guaranteed to wander in circles until you are lost. That is exactly what happened in the garden. By choosing to define reality for themselves, Adam and Eve severed the connection that anchored them to the truth. The result was not just a temporary punishment, it was a fundamental fracture in the architecture of human experience. This is why we feel the weight of our current world. The suffering we face today is a byproduct of living in a reality that is trying to function without its primary power source. We are like cables unplugged from the wall, wondering why the light will not turn on. We look for solutions in status, in comfort, or in the approval of others. But none of these can bridge the gap created when we rejected the presence of the Creator. This suffering is not a sign of divine abandonment. Quite the contrary. The entire narrative of the Bible is the story of a God who refuses to let that fracture remain permanent. From the moment the first couple hid behind the trees, the Creator was already calling out, asking, "Where are you?" It is a question that echoes through the corridors of time, right into our current struggles. When you are suffering, when you are in the middle of a trial that makes no sense, you are in the exact place where the question is being asked of you. Where are you? Are you still hiding behind the things you have done or the things you have lost? Or are you willing to step out into the light of His grace? The fall of humanity brought sin and death into the world, but the sacrifice of Jesus Christ was the restoration of the connection that was broken. Through His life, His death, and His resurrection, He did what we could never do for ourselves. He reconnected the cable. He bridged the gap between our broken, finite reality and the infinite, perfect holiness of the Creator. Understanding this helps us see our own trials through a different lens. When we go through pain, it is easy to think that we are being punished or that something is wrong with our faith. But consider the nature of redemption. Gold is refined in the furnace, not to destroy it, but to remove the impurities. Our trials are not evidence of the Creator's absence, but often the very environment where He prunes us, preparing us for a deeper, more mature walk. It is a didactic process. If everything were easy, we would never learn the necessity of surrender. If we never faced the consequences of the fall, we would never understand the profound miracle of grace. Consider the life of a person who has never faced a challenge. They are often fragile and unaware of the strength that resides within them. Contrast that with someone who has endured, who has wrestled with doubt, and who has come out the other side with a quiet, unshakable trust. That is the transformation that happens when we stop trying to be our own judges and start trusting the true Creator. We must also be careful not to view the story of Eden as something that happened long ago to someone else. It is a story that happens every day in our hearts. Every time we choose pride over humility, every time we choose bitterness over forgiveness, every time we try to manage our lives through control rather than faith, we are touching the fruit of that tree again. We are repeating the error of our ancestors. The secret behind our suffering is that we keep trying to build a heaven on earth of our own design. But the Bible teaches that our true home and our true peace are found only in the restoration offered by Jesus. He offers us a new identity. We are no longer defined by the original fall, but by the ultimate rescue. When you feel the weight of rejection, remember that the Creator of the universe knows your name and has counted every tear. When you feel the sting of doubt, remember that He is the author of truth, and He is more than capable of handling your questions. To live as a Christian in this world is to live in a state of tension. We are living in the time between the promise and the fulfillment. We see the brokenness around us, but we also see the seeds of the coming kingdom. This is why we are called to be lights. We are the evidence that the fracture is being healed. When we love those who treat us poorly, when we offer mercy where the world demands justice, and when we find peace in the middle of a storm, we are pointing back to the garden, showing the world that something greater is at work. We are demonstrating a different way of living, one that is not governed by the fear of loss, but by the security of being found. This is a practical, daily discipline. It starts with a prayer in the morning, asking the Creator to lead your steps. It continues with a commitment to His Word, letting it be the compass that keeps you from wandering. And it grows as you share that hope with others who are also struggling to find their way home. As we conclude this reflection, remember that you are not a mistake. You are part of a grand narrative that is moving toward a definitive, glorious restoration. The suffering of this age is temporary, but the relationship you build with your Creator is eternal. The secret of Eden is that while humanity chose a path that led to sorrow, the Creator chose a path that led to the cross, and from the cross to a life that death cannot touch. If this study has helped you see your own story in the light of divine wisdom, I encourage you to take a bold step today. Reflect on where you have been trying to assert your own will and invite the Creator back into that space. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Share this message with someone who is walking through a difficult season, and leave a comment below with one area where you are choosing to trust God today. Let us keep our eyes fixed on the one who was, who is, and who is to come, for in Him, the story always ends in hope.